Today, we're going to be taking a look at NASA's contribution to the prepping community, and it makes total sense. NASA is looking to get people to survive in the most inhospitable conditions and with the absolute least amount of resources available to them. Living on the moon and staying alive after an apocalyptic event aren't all that much different from each other, so needless to say, they've come up with some pretty ingenious life-saving equipment that are in most of our bug-out bags already. Make no mistake, they aren't the only ones out there doing this kind of thing. SpaceX and every major military and space exploration site across the globe is doing the exact same thing too. The staples inside our prepper bags almost all have their roots in military or space exploration developments. So we're going to start with the most common items that everyone will recognize, and then we'll move on to the more lesser-known, groundbreaking innovations that are changing the game for us survivalists completely. Let's get into it. Purification systems. Water and air purifications are the most easily accessible of all our top picks. Let's start with the water. Everything from the on-the-go portable water bottle that allows you to drink from any running stream, all the way to the complete shebang reverse osmosis systems, or the ones built into the home to recycle bathwater, all of the original technology comes from NASA research centers. The truth of the matter is that they've perfected every way to purify water a long time ago, and that's why we've got access to all of these systems at our local camping goods store today. If the materials used to make them aren't cheap and flimsy, then the world's your oyster. You just need to get a system that works for your needs. Rigging up your home is certainly doable, but it's expensive and requires a lot of maintenance to keep it running smoothly. Alternatively, water bottles fitted with filters for bacteria and UV sticks for the viruses are much more affordable and in many ways more valuable, especially if you're going to be on the move. Air filtration is a different ballgame altogether though. They've developed everything from purifying masks to machines that are designed to filter an entire spaceship. Heck, these guys have even employed the help of an army of plants to clean air around their launch sites after their rockets. But today we're going to focus on two technologies that were born out of these experiments. Because let's face it, most of us don't need, nor could we even afford, a machine large enough to fill the average garage to clean out a rocket ship. The only real affordable option is the APR half mask. These swanky medical-grade silicone masks were originally designed with industrial work in mind, but they still do a pretty good job of filtering out any other contaminants, diseases, and chemical weapons, besides just asbestos. The more pricey option is CBRN ventilation systems, designed for smaller safe rooms, medium-sized bunkers, and all the way up to huge military hideouts carved out into the mountains in the event of chemical or nuclear war. Needless to say, these multi-filtering systems can go for around 10 grand for a single room, all the way up to hundreds of thousands of dollars for an entire bunker fitted with multiple rooms. Freeze-dried food preservation. Freeze-dried food's been on the prepper radar for years now, and why wouldn't it be? Freeze-drying removes all moisture, leaving the most nutrient-dense form of preserved food for the least amount of weight. It's quite literally every backpacker and prepper's dream way to transport as much food as possible for the least amount of space, weight, and effort. When the first machine to do it was invented in the 1940s, it went unnoticed for 20 years until NASA picked it up in the early 60s. It wasn't until 40 years later that the general public got their hands on any commercially manufactured units. And that's the blueprint for any government agency's new discoveries. We only get access to the cell phones, GPS trackers, and all the cool survival stuff years after they've been invented and they've discovered another gadget that does the job much better. Freeze dryers are unfortunately a very easy scam to fall for when shopping online. Don't pay an arm and a leg for a machine that you can't physically see, only to end up with a dud that shorts out after a few trials. This is not the kind of thing that you shop for on Amazon or Alibaba that barely does any quality control. Go in store, pay a few dollars more, and get a unit that's going to last a lifetime, because even if World War III doesn't come, you'll be using that baby just for the taste. Freeze-dried produce is delicious, and it's a great way to stretch your food as far as it can absolutely be stretched. Thermal insulation. Space blankets are called that because, well, duh, they're used in space. Again, making ultra-lightweight objects to do the job better than regular bulky items would is kind of NASA's specialty. food, blankets, filtration systems, whatever the space marauders use. It's going to be compact and capable of doing the job better than anything on Earth. Blankets, gloves, socks, and long johns infused with thermal insulation are a good idea for anyone who lives in a place that gets even the least amount of snow in the winter. And for our friends living in the far northern climates of Europe, Canada, and such, it's an absolute necessity to have a few pair of high-grade thermal wear. If your thermal wear is of good quality, it's going to reduce the amount of layers you need to wear a great deal, making for better mobility when you're on the move. Solar energy. Solar's been around for a while, but just 15 years ago, you had to shell out a life's worth of savings to cover the entire roof of your house, and all that just for enough electricity to run your lights. But the necessity of their far-ranging probes and vehicles that are on the surface of Mars have made them invest in ways that's made the panels and inverters as small and efficient as possible. A small panel the size of a notebook can now charge your phone, light up a bulb, and anything that uses a battery, like your blood pressure cuff or your sat phone. A solar charger is one of the most valuable items that you can have on you, and it should be in your car at all times. The scope here is large, and it really depends on what your budget is and what you need from it. Do you want to charge the necessities like phones and bulbs? Then go for something that's small and compact. But if you can afford it, you should definitely get a system in place that can run your house or the cabin you've got in the woods. And it's not just for the worst case scenario. Tornadoes and thunderstorms knock out regional electrical grids all the time, leaving you stranded without power for days. Terrible municipal planning and management are even more likely to leave you without power. The more you're able to move away from public services, the better. Speaking of moving away from public services, many of our viewers don't realize that this channel and everything we do is very much a public service too. But we don't get funding and sponsorships. Yet our guys bring you all these cool videos asking only for you to engage. So listen, leaving a comment, liking this video, or giving us a subscribe, it doesn't cost you a thing, but it really helps us keep the lights on over here so we can keep bringing you more content produced by actual people. And now let's get back into the business of surviving in inhospitable conditions. GPS. And since we just mentioned sat phones, GPS is another one of those cool bits of tech that NASA grabbed up and fine-tuned for us. The military's been using it for years, but their systems were enormous things built into their vehicles. That is until NASA got working on it. Anything involving long-distance communication has NASA's hand in it, including your cell phone. Back to GPS though. Now we've got units so small that you can hide a tab inside your child's shoe and track them remotely, for Pete's sake. Obviously, this quickly morphed into objects that act like a phone, allowing calls, text messages, and SOS beacons to be sent out. If a useful thing like a sat phone is available to us regular folk, can you imagine what the military guys have at their disposal now? Sat phones are great for more than just sending out an SOS or finding your way to a location. Did you know that GPS will remain functional even when satellite and electrical systems are down? You won't be able to track your movements, but a map of the entire planet, complete with major buildings, roadways, and border lines, are still held inside of it. It's a much more practical way to get your bearings. Paper maps get damaged and they're bulky to unfold, but your GPS, even the one on your phone, is a much more compact and robust map to carry around. And since you already have that solar charger we mentioned before, it'll never run out of battery. Medical. The medical advancements coming from the guys who want to mine on the moon are absolutely bonkers, and there's a lot of it, so bear with us here. The field medical kit you've got in your car right now. Yep, NASA took that idea from Johnson & Johnson and made it so that you could fit so much in there that you could perform a full-fledged operation out in the field. But first aid kits are nothing compared to the rest. Cochlear implants and insulin pumps were all invented by the space engineers. They've even begun to perfect the use of robots that can perform appendectomies from thousands of miles away. That's also where we got artificial limbs from. And we're not talking about pirate legs here either. No. We're talking about the kind that connects to the nervous system and that uses AI to map the brain's commands. Full-on Terminator arms and moving fingers. That level of ingenuity. Our most valuable of their contributions to medicine on the go has to be field medical kits, insulin pumps, and cochlear implants, for obvious reasons. scratch-resistant eyeglasses, because no pharmacy is going to be stocking your contacts during a war, and surprisingly, baby formula. Baby formula used to be an unregulated business with very little scientific backing, but NASA's been able to take the idea and create a nutritionally well-rounded product geared to keeping our most vulnerable members to society not just alive, but thriving. Honorable mentions. Then there are the honorable mentions. NASA's had their hand in creating any cordless electronic device you currently own, and insanely accurate MRIs and X-rays, including the portable kind. Most of us can't afford portable X-ray machines, but they are for sale if you want them. The memory foam mattress in your bedroom, smoke detectors, and portable chemical detection devices, all for sale and all designed, or at least fine-tuned, by the guys who make it up to the big hunk of rock we call the moon. Between them and SpaceX, we wouldn't be surprised if they can manage to make portable homes that can fit into your backpack in a few decades. NASA and other companies like it are in the business of making it possible to live in apocalyptic-level environments. What's more is that they were made with the idea that none of our conveniences like electricity, water from the tap, or a hospital down the corner will be available. They're trying to go to a dead planet like Mars, and we're trying to stay alive on the planet that we currently have. But other than that, are our goals and NASA's intentions really all that different? Not so much when you think about it. Extreme weather, no grid, no people to rely on, and as self-reliant as possible. We're both aiming for the same goals after all. So while we sit here and ponder what other useful trinkets and gadgets they're working on in their secret workshops, just remember, this is Threat to Survival. Prepare today. Thrive tomorrow. Embrace the threat to survival.